Time for my March homeschool update. Hi, it's Rachel from 7 and All here for my monthly homeschool recap and update video. How are you guys doing? Let me know in the comments. How did you feel in your homeschool this month? Are you starting to get over the legendary February slump, and are you starting to feel a little bit more energetic? How did you enjoy all my planning and curriculum choices videos from March? Go ahead and let me know, and I'm just gonna jump into sharing about 5 different highlights or reflections or just things to note from the month of March. I'm gonna go ahead and start with my sister who is in high school, and she is taking calculus right now. And I've talked about before, she is taking Math UC calculus as well as going through the Life of Fred calculus. And I do want to share something that we've noticed so far, which is that when you compare the two, Math UC calculus is way easier to use on an everyday basis than Life of Fred calculus is. And my family has used and enjoyed Life of Fred math for many years. It's been a part of our curriculum, and my mom has enjoyed it ever since she first discovered it. However, something challenging that they've noticed about Life of Fred calculus is that while the book includes the answers to the problems, it does not include the step-by-step solutions. And once you get up to this level of calculus, and rather challenging calculus with a lot of algebra involved, of course, because you know you have to be very good at algebra, and that will help you a lot at calculus. Once you get up to that level, it's very, very nice to have solutions. So not having solutions in the text has been an issue for them as my mom and sister are doing calculus together. And in fact, they have problem solved this issue by bringing in Dad into the homeschool day. And he is very proud of himself because it has not been a frequent thing that my dad has been called upon to help give the answers and the solutions to challenging things in homeschool. So he has showed me some of his papers filled with equations and calculations and everything to figure out, okay, this is the solution. This is how you're supposed to solve this problem. So Dad has actually been getting called into calculus class on a almost weekly, probably weekly or bi-weekly basis recently, and he's pretty proud of himself for getting to dust off those old rusty math skills and say he still got it. Next, when it comes to my 2 little boys, if you've been watching this channel, you know that I'm going through both Sunlight T and Sunlight P with my young sons for our breakfast morning time stories, which they demand, by the way, and even on Saturdays, they'll wake up and be like, okay, I want my breakfast with stories, and I'll be like, I thought I got a day off today, but according to them, there are no days off. Not from story time at breakfast anyways. But in Sunlight, we've made it about 2/3 of the way through the year for Sunlight P, which is 36 weeks. We're around week 24 right now. And in both programs, we've gotten to the part where you are starting to read significantly longer books and longer stories at the same time. So the longer story, the longer book we've started to read now is Millie Molly Mandy. And so there's a good amount of words. This does have pictures and the chapters are short, but sometimes you're reading pages like this, which this is definitely a step up for my little boys in their attention span. But so far, Millie Molly Mandy has been going great. They've been engaged, they've been telling me what happened after the story. We recently read a chapter where the little girl goes to a children's party and they play a potato race where they have a potato on a spoon and have a race, and they also play musical chairs. So as soon as we finish breakfast, they're like, okay, we have to have a potato race and we have to play musical chairs. To them, it was just like obvious. So it wasn't even that I planned an extension activity. They were just like, okay, get the potatoes, Mom. Like, we read this in the book, we must do it. They are such homeschool children. And then this book, of course, McCloskey is awesome. This has the very easy to read and fun Make Way for Ducklings, as well as Blueberries for Sal. Those are some of the best known of his books and illustrations for little kids. But this book also includes some stories that look more like this, which this is the donut story from Homer Price. I read Homer Price as a kid and greatly enjoyed it, but for a program that is targeting a 3-year-old, trying to read that donut story is a little bit much, and I did find myself looking at this and being like, I am going to summarize here. The ability to summarize text and just kind of tell the story in your own words at times can definitely help when you are doing read alouds with young kids and you just sometimes happen upon a wordier story. That can be a good strategy to use. We did take a spring break this month. Did you guys end up taking a spring break in March? I'm curious to know how many homeschoolers take spring breaks at this time of year. My husband is a teacher, so it's just most convenient to us to take breaks when he's off of work and can do things with us and have fun with us. And he actually had a long spring break, so we split it into two elements. We went on an actual vacation and we took a road trip because driving is the cheapest way to travel, right? At least where we live. We looked at places that you could fly to, but crunched the numbers and it came down to let's just go somewhere within driving distance. So we took a good long road trip. I think it's about 7-8 hours drive. Went to a beautiful beach. We got to spend time in boats, taking tours of remote islands, like tiny islands in the sea. We got to go snorkeling. My older son learned how to manage a snorkel mask for the first time and was just having a blast. So there were some days we were literally on the beach for 8 hours, just reapplying sunscreen all the time. And to my kids is what it felt like, at least, because of this very powerful sun, wearing hats. See, I came back with no sunburn. I am very proud of that as a white girl. But we had a lot of fun time. It was a very outdoorsy vacation and a very oceany vacation, which was awesome because of our recent studies of the ocean and my children's fascination with beaches and oceans and jellyfish and crabs. At one point they saw a jellyfish and they were trying to warn everyone on the beach around them and in the water around them, don't go by the jellyfish, it can sting you. They're a little bit excited and dramatic. So we had that element of our spring break, the actual vacation, travel as a family, and I will try to put some photos in here so that you can see some of that. But then we also had the, okay, let's buckle down and get work done at home part of our vacation, and we did some spring cleaning projects and just the kind of projects that are nice to do when you have both parents at home and a bunch of errands and stuff. So we had that element of our spring break as well. Oh, we also got to see mangroves. And my husband was not very excited about mangroves because he's like, what? Mangroves cannot compare to the beach. But going on a walk through a mangrove forest area was actually one of the highlights of the trip for me and for the boys. They absolutely loved it. It was super fun, and from a homeschool mom perspective, you're like, this is such an important part of this ecosystem, and going, it's totally a homeschool, a very, very homeschool kind of outing. Another milestone from March is that we finished Gentle and Classical Primer. So this guide that has been a big part of our homeschool for quite a while is all done. So you get to that week 36 and you're like, wow, I'm done. I'm going to have a full, complete, detailed review on this coming up very shortly. But yeah, we started it last March, actually, and then we had a long break because we were traveling in the US for a few months. Came back and kept right on chugging through. We will miss our memory statement cards, but they will not be gone forever. Don't worry. But we finished this, and so in April, we will be moving right into beautiful feats around the world. We're going to be starting our adventure around the world in China, and I'm very excited for those plans. Stay tuned, stay subscribed, and you will see what we do there. Something else new that I believe we're going to be starting right up now in April, as we start studying China, I'm also going to be adding in a third language to our homeschool, Chinese, which if you've heard me for a while, you've probably heard me say before, at some point I do want to start introducing my children to Mandarin Chinese. I do have a background in studying the language. It is a language that we can practically use in our community, that we can see on signs and we can use at the playground. So it is a language I always knew I wanted to introduce to my kids, but it took me a while to think about how to wrap my mind around introducing them to Mandarin Chinese without taking away from the Spanish input that is very important to us for building their Spanish skills right now. So I think I finally figured out how I want to do it. But it did take me a little while to get there, to wrap my mind around how can we start introducing Chinese, because I was so set in my mind that to be really successful with introducing a language to a young child, just bring it into life, bring it into their bedtime routines, bring it into their mealtime routines, bring it into the commands that you're giving them throughout the day. And I was like, I can't do that in Chinese without taking away from the extent to which I'm doing that in Spanish. So that kind of stopped me up for a while, but now I think I figured out a way forward. I believe I figured out what resource I will be kind of relying on or basing our Chinese studies on, but we haven't actually started it yet. So I'm not going to be sharing exactly what that is just yet because I want to make sure it's going to work. But I'm just kind of giving you a teaser of something I'm excited about, which is introducing a third language to my kids. And they have learned their first phrases in Chinese already. And it is so awesome to see them running around the house saying, Ni hao, 我是Cyrus. And these different little phrases in their little preschooler voices, and does my heart really good. And now on to my final reflection. If you've watched my other monthly update videos, you know that I like to end them with deeper reflections and just thoughts on homeschool that have been in my mind recently. So I've realized something about my homeschool planning style this month, and it's that I plan with the expectation that my children are going to enjoy learning. I don't plan with the expectation of, oh, I want to do as minimal schoolwork as possible, just the essentials so that we can have more time to do other things. I actually do tend to plan a little bit in homeschool and learning and doing activities together is one of the funnest parts of our days. It's something that I really enjoy. It's something that my kids really enjoy. So I do tend to plan a fair amount of schoolwork into our lives because schoolwork is awesome. I enjoy it, and my kids thus far also enjoy our times of learning together. So I do think people should know about that because everybody does have a different style. Everybody does have different homeschooling needs. Different people have different amounts of time in their schedules, different responsibilities. For me, homeschooling very much is the fun part of my responsibilities. Yes, I have other responsibilities that I enjoy as well, but maybe not quite to the extent of just that pure fun of being with my kids and making a craft, painting with them, being with my kids and just reading them stories and letting them sneak a few extra books onto my pile, even though I already had quite a large pile of books to read. So I just wanted to say that, like, that does shape the way I homeschool, and your homeschool might look quite a bit different. Your plans might look quite a bit different. You might have other responsibilities that necessarily limit the amount of time you spend on homeschool. That's totally fine. You also might have yourself and your kids with a personality that I just don't like sitting around a table and reading stuff and doing schoolwork all that much. But we do genuinely enjoy it, and I plan with that expectation that we will enjoy it. Not that we'll feel that it's a drag or a waste of time. Like, I have always had that very natural curiosity, that natural love for just diving into a book and writing about what I learn and all of that. And making a lot of time for that in our lives is a genuine priority to me. So embracing the way that I approach homeschool, rather than feeling like, oh, we should do less because everyone says doing less is better. Sometimes less is more, but sometimes also less is less. And if we love it, why not do more of what we love? All right, there's my March update. Go ahead and share with me something that you really enjoyed from your March, something that you've been reflecting on at this point in your homeschool journey, or something that was not so wonderful from March. I'm happy to hear it all. I love homeschool conversations. Subscribe and stick around for more. All right, bye.